squeegee board. My name is Jamie. I own my own window cleaning business here in West Michigan. And I just like sharing what's worked for me as I scale my company and what may help other people as well. And a lot of this can really go for a lot of the home service industry, not just window cleaning. So yeah, let's just get into it. This episode, number 2, is called Marketing That Evolves with Your Company. All right, so we're gonna start with solo operator, right? Like a lot of us start solo, trying to grind. The biggest issue at that name of the game is just at that point in the business is just finding clients, finding leads. Like that's the number one question I see almost everywhere, right? So you start out as solo operator. We're going to label this attention over everything because the details at that level really, really matter because that's what sets up your foundation for the rest of your business. Because if you don't have a proper foundation when you first start, everything else is just pretty much going to go haywire from there. And it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to scale the way you want to, if that's your goal. If you just want to be, I know there's a lot of guys out there that just really want to be, or girls, they want to just do their thing. They like working on the truck. They like cleaning. They do all that. I love that for the first 3 or 4 years. And I kind of got sick of it, to be honest with you. I love the people, but you know, a lot of a lot of people know that are in this work. This is hard work, and I didn't want to be like 40 or 45, 50, kind of barely hanging on, physical wise. So let's just get into it. So after you've this, a lot of this evolves around. A lot of it, you have to create your branding. You got to create a good logo, a good imagery, good colors that stand out. One thing that I wish I wouldn't have done is made my logo myself and my name, my company. That may change because it just makes it really hard for you to separate yourself from that if you ever decide to do so. And just because you don't decide to do it now doesn't mean you're not going to decide to do it in 5 to 10 years. When I first started my business, I never really wanted to have a business. I just wanted to earn that extra money, and it kind of evolved as it started. So, attention over everything. So you really want to be posting daily. A lot of the business that I got early on was from Facebook. I built my business on Facebook. That was a really big driver. That this was in like 2018, 2019. A lot of things have changed since then. The algorithm has really changed since then. I do think it's a little bit more difficult. I'm not saying it's very difficult. I'm saying it's more difficult to get those organic reach outs via your Facebook without dumping a lot of money into meta ads and stuff like that. And even that's hit or miss. Yard signs at every job, that's huge, guys. If you're not doing that, organics early on is going to be your bread and butter because a lot of people don't have capital to really bust into marketing. Ask everyone and their mom for reviews, guys. I mean, that is massive. Really want to push reviews from the get go. I think I've said this before, but I think my second year I started Google listing, and then my third year is when it really got ramping up. I got 40, 50, 60, 70 reviews, 5-star reviews, mind you, and that is kind of really what pushed me across that finish line to get out of my full-time job into my business full-time right now. I was still on the truck, I was still doing the thing, but I went from literally 42,000 my last part-time year to 101,000 that second year, all because I made myself more available. um, you know you really want to join at least 10 local Facebook groups. A lot of guys do that, right? A lot of business owners do that, but what they don't do is participate. You really want to be giving more than you're receiving in those groups, and I think that's going to what sets you apart from that. I did this early on. I still do it. Handwritten thank you cards to customers. Having a process and a system for that. I give a lot of my clients sticky notes. They love that. You never know where those are going to fly. I give them a little pack about this, 2 of them to each client. I see them all around the house. My techs see them all around the house every time we show up. And then don't forget your 5 to 10 rounds, right? Early on, you're really hustling for leads, and if you're in the area that's called you or that you've gotten a job, 9 times out of 10 the neighbors are nosy. They're looking at you. If you have the proper equipment, if you're tagged well in your truck or van, like you gotta look the part. So do those 5 or 10 rounds, and what I mean by that is getting a door hanger or a business card or whatever. Don't put it in their mailbox. That's illegal. Put it on the door. Put it in the newspaper slot, and those go a long way. The return isn't all that good, but honestly, like, you're there anyway. So maybe out of every 10 or 20 you give out, maybe every 30 or 40, you're going to get one job out of that. And they're relatively cheap. So Building identity, right? Like I just mentioned, the name, logo, colors, all those need to be on point. If you really want to be taken seriously, if your goal is to grow this thing beyond yourself, you gotta look the part. You gotta look professional when doing so. All right. Retention. This is the name of the game. Like my first 2 or 3 years, I lost a lot of clients because I was not. I did not have a CRM. I was doing everything via notebook and paper. A little side quest here. I love my CRM. I use Markate. They're phenomenal. I'm kind of an ambassador for them just because I love them so much. I tell everybody about them. They're the way more affordable ones out there. They have great add-ons. I think I pay like $600 or $700 for the year. I think customer factor is maybe a little cheaper, but a lot of people are pairing different things with customer factor, and I don't need to pair anything with Markate. If you're looking for a good CRM, I'll drop the link below and you can check it out. Free 14-day trial there. Okay, get people in your CRM, because I lost like my first 2 or 3 years. I lost all those clients because I never wrote them down. I never saved them. I never was able to tap into them after that. I wish I would have. Referrals is huge here. My first couple of years, same thing. The business was built, a lot of it, on referrals. My name got around, the quality got around. I was spending a lot of time on the face of the glass, and I was doing the best job I could, right? And that's kind of what it boils down to. Reviews, reviews, reviews. I'm going to hit that like crazy because it makes such a drastic effect on my business, and I think it will yours too. I know companies around me that have been around 10, 15, 20 years, and it took me 3 or 4 years to get more reviews than them because they're stuck kind of doing their own thing, not really paying attention, and that's what's going to set yourself apart. Okay. Remember, premium brand equals premium price. Start out kind of low. You really want to get your feet wet. You want to get really, really, really good. You want to get really, really, really efficient. And with the reviews to back you, with your branding to back you, then you can start charging really good prices. And start knowing your KPIs, right? Like in this is when you're going to start setting up those signals so you can tap into the business to see how good it's doing. All right. Next one. Okay. This is probably like zero to, maybe 0 to 150,000, right? You're just kind of getting the grind on. The next step right here is going to be small team. And that's when you start maybe hiring a helper, maybe hiring a full-time partner. You're still in the truck, still doing your thing. Maybe you're starting to thinking about not cleaning as much, maybe spending 2 or 3 days a week working on the business rather than in the business. That makes a massive deal. I want to slide over here. So, trust signals in systems. So this is when you start building those signals. This is when you start building those systems that will catapult you, right? Google reviews. I keep going back to reviews. You really want your Google reviews. You really want a script for it. You really want, this is when I started, right after invoices, my clients get a automatic review request. Once they get the review, once they send the review, they never get another one, but that's with my CRM. It automatically sets it up. It's absolutely phenomenal. All right. And then after that, you really want to start thinking about your SEO basics, your website, your service pages, your city pages. Now you have the revenue to start really pushing that. If you didn't get a website here, you definitely want to get a website here. All right. Because that's a necessity these days, and that's never going anywhere. Okay. Especially as AI gets introduced, inside Google and stuff like that. So, retargeting ads, maybe you want to think about meta and LSAs right here. I'm currently closer to this stage, and I'm just now getting into paid ads. I did a coaching program with Home Service Business Coach with David Mormon, HSBC, totally transformed my company. I highly recommend it. I can talk to you about that if you're looking for some type of training. They are hands down the most genuine people I have worked with. And one of the things they said is you really don't need any paid ads until you hit about 500K. And I think there's enough organic growth there, which that is possible. If you are wanting to get a little bit paid ad in, I think LSA, local service as via Google is a great way to start. Make sure you do pay per lead and not pay per click, because that can get really expensive really quickly. Retargeting, like we just talked about, boost, repeat, and service plans. This is when you really start thinking about service plans. I wish I would have thought about them 2 years ago. I'm just going to be introducing them in 2026, and I think it's going to transform the company. CRM automations. This is really when you should be, honing in on what your CRM is and automating a lot of that stuff. Your reminders, your follow-ups, your estimates, your happy calls, as HSBC likes to call them. So one thing I'm going to be pushing next season as I bring on administrative help is happy calls. After the job is done, maybe they did leave a good review, maybe they didn't leave a review at all, maybe there's a bad review, but you really want to touch base with the client at least a day after. Maybe it's the same day, maybe it's the day after, 2 days after, and just just call them and see how it went. Make sure they're completely satisfied. Those are the kind of things that's going to set yourself apart from your competition. All right, I'm going fast. I hope you guys are listening. All right, uniforms, wrap trucks, consistent branding, guys. This is when you really should have everything dialed in. The more professional you look, the more people are going to take you seriously. You don't want to be looked at as like a bucket Bob or just some guy kind of winging it. The more energy, the more positivity, the more energy that you can send out to know what you're doing is like right, the more, the better way that you can, tell them, hey, this guy's got all his stuff together. I think I can trust these guys. The better off you're going to be. All right. So uniforms, make sure uniforms are on point. If you have employees at this rate, tell them what they can wear, tell them what they can't wear, give them hats, give them shirts, maybe khaki shorts, khaki pants, whatever. Make sure they smell good. It's the small things, guys. It really is. Tech photo set before arrival. I just started this last year or this past year in 2025 because I had 1 year of hiring, guys. Like I'm in the thick of it, just like you guys are, right? So, I send out a little bio and a tech picture before my texts go out. Okay. And that way the homeowner gets to know them a little bit, gets their names. All of a sudden you've broken a little ice, so it's a little easier to kind of break that first 5 or 10 minute awkward stage of that house cleaning. Okay. Especially if you're doing interior window cleaning. If you do that, you know what I'm talking about. Working on off the truck. Like I said before, this is when you should start be thinking about if your goal is to get off the truck and having guys do the work so you can maybe work on sales and expanding. This is when you really should be start thinking about that. Really get to know your KPIs. We talked about that. Maybe you have 2 or 3 years under your belt. Now you should be knowing what your KPIs are, how good your systems are working, and what you need to change to make things better. All right, email blast. That's another big one. Email blasts are huge. Every time I do an email blast, I've been doing them 2 or 3 times a year. I get $10,000 to $20,000. That's where your CRM comes into. You know, it pays for itself 100-fold, guys. It really does. I have a CRM. I highly recommend getting a CRM. I send marketing emails out. I'm going to be sending out like little mini newsletters like once a month going forward. Okay. So yeah, email blast. And like I said, I have networking down here. You should be networking with other people during this whole phase. One thing that's really set my company up for success is I've been getting to know the other business owners around me in my area that are in the homes that I want to be in, and maybe providing special deals for their clients, or they're giving me deals for their clients. But you're getting your brand out there, you're getting your name out there. I have a meeting tomorrow with a window installation company up near Grand Rapids. I'm near Kalamazoo, Michigan, and but they all service all West Michigan, and I want to be in the homes that they're in. Right, I want to take care of those really nice windows they just installed. All right. So networking is massive. I can do another board series, squeegee board episode on that. Now, stage 3, you're scaling now. You're 3 to 500K. That's about where I'm at. We're gonna call this brand authority mode, and you're really gonna be focusing on getting your brand out there. Everything should be set. Everything should be rolling on all cylinders right now, at least for the most part, right? Nothing's perfect. But you want to start thinking about that monthly newsletter, referral incentive, setting up some type of referral program for your clients. And maybe this is the point where you can start thinking about community events, sponsorships, little league and stuff like that. I mean, you should not be doing any of that in this stage, in my opinion, because that money needs to be going towards things that are going to push that business a little bit farther, so you can get that separation. When you get into this stage, you're going to have a little bit more float money where you can get yourself branded into the community where that works. Systemize ad spend, so proven ROAs. Okay, you want to find where your ad money is getting your most return. All right, whether it be meta ads, LSAs, Google ads, whatever is working. Maybe you got a billboard that shot off. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of billboards. Digital is the future. Where are people going to find you? 9 times out of 10, it's Google. That's, in my opinion, where your money should be going. And then you should be thinking about your hiring funneling ads. And that's all stuff that HSBC has helped me with. This is not an infomercial for HSBC, mind you, but they've helped me so much. A lot of the stuff I learned through them, and that's why I want to give you that information. Hiring funnel ads. So you really want to be thinking about, okay, where do I want to find the guys, the girls that I want to work for me, right? That's one of the most number one things that how are you finding people? All of my guys want to come back next year. I had 2 or 3 guys. I had 2 or 3 guys part-timers and one full-time guy. One guy wants to go full-time in 2026. So I'll have 2 full-time, 2 part-time, 2 trucks going on full-time. Hopefully, that's the goal. And they all want to come back. I treated them well. I paid them a 15% to 20% above an industry standard. I paid them well. I gave them bonuses. I was flexible with them, and they got me like they got us, right? It's not just me anymore. I'm trying to get my headspace out of that. You really want to start thinking about CEO mindset and not the worker mindset, right? That's the push. That's where you want to start thinking, is that mindset shift. And that's going to be massive. But I set them up. I was flexible with, when I could be flexible. Guys, I didn't have one call off this year. Granted, they took vacations and stuff, but I didn't have one call off. I love my guys. My guys are crushing it. But a lot of that was because I set that up for success. I created the systems. I created everything that I needed to crush it. Now we're gonna look over here, and this is kind of farther down the line, but local market leader, stage 4, right? So you want a full omnipresence on Facebook, Google, YouTube, LSAs. Like, that's when you really start taking over your area, right? Maybe you start thinking about brand merch to sell hats, hoodies, shirts. You want to train your team brand ambassadors. So you want your guys to be so invested in you that they go out and they sell for you, maybe without even knowing it, right? High level SEO work, quarterly promo, that will lead to like predictable lead flow, right? So if you set up promos, service plans, stuff like that, I've seen companies get really big. I've seen companies do things really, really fast. And this is why I chose the slow route, because I wanted to focus on the foundations and never forget about, guys, never forget about the core fundamentals. I know a lot of you guys probably watch like Mint Window Cleaning on YouTube and stuff. One of their most recent videos is they got so caught up in like pushing the money and pushing how much they wanted per day out of each tech that they kind of forgot about just the fundamentals and what makes a good tech, what makes a good leader or a good employee for them. And they found that a lot of it just falls under their fundamentals. um this isn't theirs, but this is just some of the one I thought of. Show up fast, communicate clearly, care about clients more than the competitors, memorable brand, and then review. Ask all the time. I don't care if you don't know if they've did or not. Just it's the little things, guys. It's the little things that maybe we take for granted sometimes. And then market when busy. I've seen so many people that are just they stop marketing because they're so overloaded, and that happens when you're on the truck, right? That you think like all you can do is work and you can't really focus on, maybe you're getting overwhelmed and you got to shut off these ads, or you feel like you have to stop talking about your company to people or stop asking referrals. That shouldn't be the way you go. You're creating a clog within your system. I was my biggest clog for years, right? But it's fine. I learned from it and we move forward. So, guys, this was really, really fast, really, really intense, but I wanted to provide you some type of, value here. If you found any value, guys, drop a comment below. Tell me what you learned. Give me some ideas for some more episodes. I love doing these. I love making them quick, short, and simple to the point. Marketing that involves your company. Thanks for watching the Squeegee Board.